And joining us from Washington is Cameron Joseph, Washington Chief Bureau for the New York Daily News. Hope I got that title right there. I want to ask you, Cameron, we talk about President Trump, he's not just attacking Democrats, he's threatening to go after conservatives, but does he really have the clout to go against them in Congress in 2018?
Well, I think if he really dedicates himself to trying to take out some of these members on the right who blocked health care legislation, he could do that. The question is whether he has the attention span. And we've seen him make threats that haven't been followed up on in the past. He's clearly very furious with some of these House Freedom Caucus members. I think this is more of going forward. If they continue to cause problems for President Trump, that could be a real problem for them. But you have to find folks to run against them. You have to be able to fund them. You have to be able to find folks who can actually win in these districts in a primary. And all of these Freedom Caucus members are from very safe Republican seats. And so, and they're known at home. And some of these folks have faced primaries in the past from the establishment candidates that haven't really gone anywhere. A lot of these folks won in primaries, either in open seats or by defeating sitting congressmen. So it's unclear to me whether President Trump is really going to spend that much time trying to do this, or whether this is more of a saber rattling towards these guys, which frankly didn't work on health care, so I'm not sure why it would work in the future. But I know a few of them aren't exactly happy with how the Obamacare repeal debate played out, and are admitting privately that they played some part in that going down in flames last week. So it'll be interesting to see next time push comes to shove and the Freedom Caucus isn't happy with where Republican leadership and President Trump is, whether they actually come around on something.
Yeah, a lot of infighting going on. Cameron, if President Trump can't sway conservatives or work with them, what happens to the Republican agenda?
Well, it goes down in flames. I think if you lose the right, it's going to be very tough to get much done at all. And the problem with President Trump's leadership style right now is he's good at cajoling and bullying and talking to people and building relationships. But the Freedom Caucus guys they're kind of nerds, and they really care about the details of policy, a lot of them, and are very, very conservative and aren't going to be swayed by a flight on Air Force One or even a threat of a primary. They kind of enjoy that, actually. And so I think it's tough to win some of these folks over unless you're willing to come to them on policy. And as we saw in the healthcare fight, that loses a lot of moderates. And now they're talking about moving on to tax reform, like that's going to be easier. It's actually a more complicated issue in a lot of ways. There's a reason we haven't seen comprehensive tax reform in about 3 decades. And so I think this is going to be tough, and policymaking is tricky. It's difficult. And unless you have real consensus building, it's tough to get to yes on anything, and I think President Trump is learning that right now. I think the healthcare debate may just be the first of many very complicated, tough things that they're trying to deal with, and it's unclear to me, unless President Trump is willing to really get in the weeds on some of this policy and really start working from the beginning on some of these policies, whether they're going to be able to pass some big things.
And yet, as tough as it is, many on Capitol Hill are saying that it's not over yet in the fight for health care. House Speaker Paul Ryan was asked about reforming efforts by our very own Norah O'Donnell, and here's what he had to say.
I worry about Norah is that if we don't do this, then he'll just go work with Democrats to try and change Obamacare, and that's hardly a conservative thing. This is a can-do president who's a business guy who wants to get things done. And I know that he wants to get things done with the Republican Congress. But if this Republican Congress allows the perfect to be the enemy of the good, I worry will push the president into working with Democrats. He's been suggesting that as much.
Cameron, we know that health care reform has never really been a bipartisan effort. Do you think that the Democrats would really work with President Trump?
In a word, nope. I think that you could see some minor things that they can agree on. You can find some wedge issues that Republicans can put on the floor, and it would be politically tough for Democrats to block it. We saw that after Obamacare passed, Republicans made some reforms and some changes like the medical device tax, where you saw Democrats voting with them. But in terms of whole-scale changes to the Obamacare, unless they really come up with a brand new plan, and I don't think there's really any appetite on the left or with even moderate Democrats to do that, because they'd be handing President Trump a win. And they, frankly, a lot of them have some problems with Obamacare, but they don't want to see the law dramatically repealed, changed, replaced, like Republicans are calling for. I think it's kind of an empty threat by Paul Ryan. I honestly do. I think a lot of this is Paul Ryan trying to scare some of the folks on the right into backing some of his policies. and it hasn't worked yet. And I don't think on healthcare, at least, that we're going to see a huge bipartisan kumbaya moment where you start seeing a big policy change. I think on some other issues, infrastructure, there's a chance of that, but kind of unlikely right now.
All right, Cameron Joseph, Washington bureau chief for the New York Daily News. Thank you, Cameron.
Thanks for having me.